interestingly enough, we are more often hired when people are having problems than as an initial tool in the tool belt when someone is thinking about investing in real estate. There are really three types of people that normally pick up property management. One could be long-term self-managed, who's finally letting go of their portfolio and needs to finally turn over professional management. Your second one is typically those people who are 3 to 7 years into it, realize they don't want to be a professional property manager or investor, and typically will hand it over to management then. The third one, which is really the lion's share of the investors who own real estate property in this country, and the majority of people that will be our clients in property management, are going to be either accidental landlords who inherited a property or don't want to let go of maybe a starter home that they want to turn into investment, or they knew that they wanted, they're a client who wanted to have maybe 1, 2, or 3 extra properties in their portfolio. So they knowingly bought their first home as a starter home that they would then turn into an investment. But regardless, normally we are hired when things are not going well. Maybe there's a problem with the property, problem with the tenant, problem with time. Regardless, we are usually hired when there is a solution needed. And we will come across not only properties that have issues from accidental landlords, but we have active investors, especially new investors. If there's anything that we typically find ourselves solving more often than not, it is problems with brand new investors who ran out, bought an investment property, did not really put the time, effort, or energy into understanding what they were getting into. And then, of course, they look at property management and say, hey, solve all my problems for me, make it all right. Some things we can, some things we can't. And so these are things that I have compiled that I've seen over time in 20 years that investors have made mistakes that have cost them time, energy, and effort in their investment. Okay, so we're going to go through those. First one is initial purchase price misjudgment, which is overestimating the property's current value, what you think it's worth in the current market, and also what you might think it is going to be in the future. Very rarely are we factoring in closing costs, escrow fees, other upfront costs. All right. So I have learned over time that I overestimate everything. I'm super conservative. I don't want to say that I'm negative, but I certainly am not going to be pie-eyed anymore when it comes to the property. I'm going to look at potentially all the things that can go wrong with it, all the extra expenses that can pop up, and that's what keeps me out of trouble. And this, of course, we also advise our clients. Huge one. Next one. Underestimating repair and renovation costs. Wow. Boy, I tell you, the number of people who just estimate on the back of an envelope and figure it'll all go right. Again, same thing. Whenever I'm going to come up with an estimate, I'm typically adding another 20-25% on top of that for the unknowns. Big one, not getting multiple contractor quotes. And of course, also forgetting to account for hidden damages like mold, pest, or structural issues. So it's not what we see that is the problem. It's what we don't see when we pull back the drywall, we pull back the siding. It's the things that we peel back and find. That is where the real money can be spent. The other thing, too, is expecting the lowest cost repairs. We often tell our clients it's not our job to save you money per se by finding the cheapest contractor. Our job is to make sure you get the right work done at a fair market price, done right, done for the right price, fair market value. That's really our job. Trying to save money by hiring the cheapest contractor over time has proven to us to be a lost leader. You lose time, you have multiple repairs, there's issues. Going cheap has never worked for us, and we would never recommend it for our clients. Market value and resale misestimation. There you go. That's another one right there. Overestimating one's own property and not really researching comps. I cannot tell you the number of times we have dealt with clients who will pull a property that's like way out of their area as a comp, or try to justify why their home is just like the one down the street, which has more acreage, more bedrooms, and a pool. You name it. When it comes to investing, people have a tendency to overvalue their own property, and typically by a lot. And that's just, again, not how it works. It's price, location, condition. That is going to equal fair market value, period. So overestimation, flippers will come in and figure, you know what, I can purchase it for this. My repairs will be X, Y, and Z, and I can sell it for resale at this higher price, not factoring in, hey, where will the market be in 6 to 9 months when your flip is ready? And of course, is the market going to be willing to pay for that? Amazing how many people in their mind will have conversations with people across the negotiating table that don't even exist. They'll say this, and then I'll tell them that, and then they'll tell me, oh, do this, and that's not how this works. People have their own goals when it comes to purchasing properties, and they don't care what your opinion is. They're going to have their own. And you can't talk someone into overpaying for a property unless they really want it. Here we go. Overlooking holding costs. Ooh, this is a good one. Your acquisition cost, the down payment is just one part of it. Don't forget you've got escrow for property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance during the flip period. There could also be a downtime, right? If you're buying a multi-unit property and there's going to be vacancies or even a single family, there's going to be a holding time. That's going to cost money, and that could be delayed. We've seen that happen where permits are not earned in a timely manner. Next thing you know, things are taking a lot longer than are expected. Not preparing for a prolonged sale process. We've seen that happen. We've had short sales take 8 months to a year to close. That can change everything. You start in with your estimation of closing of cost to repair the property. Well, we've seen this happen in 2023 and 2024 where inflation has gone up. So those estimates that you got a year ago to put a major renovation in might have been $50,000. Well, now they're coming back and they want $80,000 for the exact same job. Something that people did not prepare for and might not be able to prepare for. Financing oversights. This could be not shopping around for the best financing terms or being unaware of higher interest rates, not understanding the hidden fees and penalties in the loan agreement. It's human nature, right? When we're involved in the process of acquiring a property or writing a lease, we're all thinking about everything, the terms and conditions right then and there. But then 6 months or a year goes by and we forget. What did we say? What were those terms? And there's a lot of assumption that can go on. All of a sudden, someone might have a flip. They go to pay it back, and they forget there's hidden costs in that they weren't preparing for. Huge one we're seeing for short-term rentals, legal and zoning issues, ignoring local zoning laws or HOA restrictions. Lots and lots of Airbnbs have been run into HOAs, condo associations. It's all trying to skirt the system. It creates more problems. It's why there's such a negative outlook in a lot of areas for these short-term rentals. We're a big believer. Just do it by the book. Follow the rules. Bend them, don't break them. But if your association does not allow short-term rentals, we will not try to do a short-term rental management or investment in one of those areas. If the local zoning laws are not in our favor, we're not here to fight them. There are 50 states and hundreds of municipalities. If your local zoning municipality will not allow us to do what we want to do as investors, we're just going to go somewhere that's a lot easier to do it. Let's play it simple. It's just easier as an investor to go somewhere else that is going to be more amenable to your situation than to sit there and try to fight the zoning laws and everything. I do not have time to fight City Hall, as they say. But we've seen this happen. We had an investor that came to us in the last year, and they acquired a property. They were ready for short-term rental, went through everything, then found out that it was not allowed in the HOA. Now, we had nothing to do with this. We were not a part of the acquisition. We were brought on post-acquisition for management, and once they realized that they were up the creek and could not turn it into a short-term rental, I believe we just turned around and put it right back on the market and sold it for them. So very costly mistake for that investor, but one that they will not forget, certainly. Emotional. Boy, I got to tell you, in real estate and real estate investing, most of our job, I feel like, is being a psychiatrist and a psychologist for those people, therapist, if you will. I almost feel like there should be a 12-step group therapy for home buyers and home sellers. I do believe that a majority of what people earn when they help buy and sell real estate as real estate professionals is for the psychological therapy that we are giving to our clients. Most homes sell themselves. Price, location, and condition is a real determining factor. Market value is going to determine what the sale price is. For the most part, a smart, savvy real estate professional is there to facilitate and negotiate your closing, but they do not sell homes. Homes sell themselves. What we have to do is help facilitate and negotiate and get people to understand and not lose their minds and work towards coming to an agreeable close. And what a headache that can be. So emotional decisions. People become too personally attached to a property. They start to say, you've got to be able to walk away from any investment at any time. It's just an object. It's just a business. And if the decision is not made on financials and market demand versus personal taste, it's going to be a dead loser. Okay. Here's the other thing, too. It's not just acquisition of a property. You've got to start asking yourself, what kind of properties and how do you foresee yourself as an investor? This is something that you need to know. I, in my early days, was investing in some very, very deep Hispanic-speaking neighborhoods. These were very hardworking neighborhoods. But as far as the rental management went, I was in way over my head. I didn't understand the culture, how people worked in those neighborhoods. And I had met an investor there, and he said, listen, you're going to get eaten alive because you understand how it works in this area. Now, doesn't mean I couldn't have learned it, but at that time, it wasn't a skill set that I was prepared for. So understand your ideal tenant and properties, right? Who are the kind of people you're working with? If you want to work with only luxury and you like talking that talk, then you're going to only go with luxury. If you are someone in the trades and you like working with other people who are in the trades, or you like working with the kind of people that you grew up in your neighborhood, you might be more in a blue collar type neighborhood, where maybe they're like C-class properties, maybe not as high, maybe the rents are a little bit tighter, maybe there's a little bit more downtrodden neighborhoods. But some people want that. So it really depends on what you want to be. Some people love working with student rentals, and they don't mind the risk reward of the fact that, 8 college students might destroy your property every year. Other people want nothing to do with that. So understanding the kind of profession, income level, those are all important things. So if you're like, hey, I want turnkey blue chip properties, I might recommend you for, townhomes that were built 1990 or newer, less than 35 years old, more modern amenities. If you like the eclectic art school, I might put you down in where the properties are 120 years old and there's exposed brick, okay? Who do you want to serve? Locations can be hospitals, universities, major hubs of transportation. Who do you want to serve in those types? Do you want to focus more on single family homes or multifamily units? Both have their pros and cons. Everyone thinks apartments are the bee's knees. They come with their own set of problems because now you've got density of housing. You put a lot of people together in a small space, you're bound to end up with some problems. So it's different than single family homes. Single family homes might be spread further apart, so you don't get maybe the economy of scale. But all these things like public transportation, amenities, safety, local job market, they are all very important. More often than not, when the times are getting tough, people will go further out into the suburbs. They'll ripple further out to find properties that are cheaper and cheaper. But what they forget is when the pendulum swings, just like it swung out and pushed people to further sub-markets, if the recession hits or the dollar collapses, then all of those properties start losing value and people shrink back in towards city centers because rents come down. As rents come down, people relocate to higher demand areas as rents become more affordable. And those tertiary markets that were further out in the suburbs, well, guess what? They're the first ones to get hit with the biggest drop in real estate property values and rents. So these are things that you have to think about, risk reward. It's not just simply what is the acquisition price. Other things to think about, amenities and features. What do you want to offer? What kind of property do you want to put out there? It's your product. It's your product. Are you serving McDonald's hamburgers or do you want to serve Ruth's Chris steaks? It's really up to you and the kind of clientele that you want to manage, but also understand that the type of clientele that you're bringing on means you have to meet their expectations because you cannot give McDonald's service at a Ruth's Chris level of expectation. So if you want to have luxury units, well, then you better expect that you're going to have upgraded appliances. You're going to repaint that property every time it turns, and you're going to keep it in tip-top condition. So if you don't like investing in your investment property, that may not be the property for you. Okay. Tenant screening. Oh, that is so important. And that really doesn't matter what kind of property you're managing, whether it's a $400 efficiency or a $4,000 single family home. Everyone has to go through thorough landlord-tenant screening. Obviously, you need to be fair housing compliant, but you need to know, what are your lease agreements? What are your state laws? These laws are changing. Laws in the cities can be very different than laws outside of it. The laws that are in Philadelphia for property management may not have the same effect on the surrounding suburban counties. So they're very different. Each borough and township might have their own special little licensing laws. Some charge a fee for licensing, some do not. Some have annual licensing inspections, some have biannual, every 2-year licensing inspections. Some have self-managing inspections, and you just pay a fee. But you need to know these things, because that can be the difference between quick repairs and long repairs, spending a little bit of money versus spending a lot of money. We manage properties in Berks County, in a little tiny borough called West Reading, and they wanted permits done for almost every type of work you did that touched any type of plumbing line. So that which would be normally a quick, easy repair in another borough, called swapping out a hot water tank, now required an inspection and a permit. Then the work had to be done. Then they got to come out and really. So what in another borough right across the street might take 1 day to solve a problem, now we've got multiple visits, multiple expenses, added time and effort, all because this borough, that's what they want. And then we recommend, we guide people away from areas like that. We're like, this is not where you want to invest. It's too much work. You want to be where it's friendly to investors. You want to go where they're going to be friendly to working with you and not create a headache. It doesn't mean you need to go where they're going to be malleable, do everything you ever said so you can be a terrible developer and come in and just do whatever you want. But as far as like, if you're trying to do better in the community, but they are set in their ways, you're going to have an uphill battle. And that only comes from understanding the areas they're in. And, you've got people from New York just buying in the Pennsylvania suburbs and having no idea what they're getting into. And then they get frustrated because, like, well, it doesn't work this way. And like, you're in New York. It's different state, different rules, different laws, different guidelines. Some things are the same, but many things are not. So there you go. That's what I wanted to talk about when it comes to some of the mistakes that investors make and things that they should be thinking about, things that you should be thinking about before you make your next property acquisition.